Good evening. The 73rd regular meeting of the 73rd term of your Baltimore City Council is now called to order. As a reminder for members, the press, and members who are with us today, please ensure that your electronic devices are turned off, or at a minimum, they're placed on silent mode so you do not disrupt tonight's proceedings. As we will go to our invocation before our Pledge of Allegiance, at this time I'll ask folks to take a 30-second moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask everyone to stand and state the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
President Mosby.
Aye.
Cohen. McCray. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Middleton. Torrance. Burnett. Bullock. Porter. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that we have excused absences of Madam Vice President, Councilwoman Felicia Porter, and Chairwoman Danny McCray. With that, Madam Clerk, if you could please go, bill signed by the mayor can be found on page 2 of tonight's agenda. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you could please call the first bill. I'm so sorry, I didn't do adoption of the journal. At this point, we're going to proceed with the adoption of the journal. Madam Clerk?
Yep. Mr. President, the journal for the January 29th, 2024 regular meeting proceedings are on the council members' desk.
At this time, are there any objections for adopting the journal? Hearing and seeing none, the journal has now been adopted. Again, a bill signed by the mayor can be found on page 2. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the first bill.
City Council Bill 24-0487, Charter Amendment, Baltimore City Redistricting Commission, for the purpose of amending the City Council redistricting process, creating the Redistricting Commission, establishing the duties of the Commission, requiring that the Commission submit a redistricting plan to the City Council before a certain deadline, requiring the Mayor and City Council to take certain action before a certain deadline, defining certain terms generally relating to the Baltimore City Council redistricting process, and submitting this amendment to the qualified voters of the city for adoption or rejection. Sponsor Cohen.
At this time, the body would like to recognize sponsor of the bill, Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am introducing legislation to create an independent redistricting commission for Baltimore. My goal is to put power back in the hands of the people. This approach is best practice that has been adopted by cities across the country, including New York, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Los Angeles, and many more. I drafted this legislation in partnership with neighborhood leaders from across Baltimore whose neighborhoods were divided by last year's process. The bottom line is that the people of Baltimore should select their representatives, not the other way around. We need to make this a community-driven process, slow it down, and add numerous opportunities for input. This legislation does those things. I will note that this bill the legislation is divided into 2 bills, a charter amendment which would establish the commission and outline the basic process, and an ordinance which sets the details, including the commission selection process and the public involvement process. I recognize that no process is perfect, and this structure would allow future city councils to adjust the process without changing the premise, but Baltimore deserves a better process that treats all of our neighborhoods as whole and that includes all of our residents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I see one hand raised of Councilman Dorsey as a co-sponsor. This bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight. Madam Clerk, please call the next bill.
City Council Bill 24-0488, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, MR Arts and Culture, $581,334 for the purpose of providing a supplementary general fund operating appropriation in the amount of $581,334 to Mayoralty Arts and Culture Service 824 Events, Art, Culture, and Film to provide funding for general operations and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor the administration.
This bill has been assigned to Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, next bill.
City Council Bill 24-0489, Children, Youth, and Families Youth Commission Amendment for the purpose of amending the composition of the Youth Commission, providing for the compensation of commission members, providing for the selection of certain officers, establishing the executive committee, providing for the membership and duties of the executive committee, requiring the adoption of a constitution and bylaws, updating the powers and duties of the commission, providing for staff to the commission, requiring agency cooperation with the commission, and generally related to amending certain provisions related to the commission. Sponsors Middleton and Stokes.
At this time, the body would like to recognize Chairman Stokes.
President and colleagues, Vice President Middleton, who couldn't be here today, are sponsoring this bill at the request of administration. The bill seeks to modernize and refine ordinance to ensure that our Youth Commission remains a relevant and effective platform for youth engagement and youth voice throughout the city. To do this, among its many things, this bill streamlines the work of the agency, participation on the commission. It requires young people serve on the commission be compensated for the hours served. I'm going to say that again. It requires young people serving on the commission be compensated for the hours served. It lowers the maximum age of appointment to the commission from 26 to 23, requires the commission to meet monthly, and requires the commission to adopt a constitution and bylaws. By implementing these improvements, we aim to create a sustainable framework that ensures the commission remains consistently active and effective in its mission. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. For the record, Madam Executive Secretary, if you could please include me as a co-sponsor on this bill. Are there any additional? This has been assigned to Education, Workforce, and Youth. Please ensure that Councilman Cohen is also listed as a co-sponsor. This bill has been assigned as Education, Workforce, and Youth. Madam Clerk, next bill.
City Council Bill 24-0490, Residential Property Wholesalers Regulation for the purpose of requiring a person to obtain a license to act as a residential property wholesaler, defining certain terms, providing for the denial, suspension, or revocation of a residential property wholesaler license under certain circumstances, providing for judicial and appellate review of an administrative decision related to a residential property wholesaler license, imposing certain penalties, establishing protections to homeowners from certain solicitations, providing for a special effective date, and generally relating to the regulation of residential property wholesalers. Sponsor Torrance.
At this time, the body would like to recognize sponsor of the bill, Councilman James Torrance.
Thank you, Mr. President. You just turned it off.
Don't touch it. You don't touch it.
There you go. It's Monday. Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I am introducing legislation that's based off of where we become after this market has hit. I have a number of residents in red-line communities who are being offered and solicited to by residential wholesalers who are not regulated by state processes or state morals or state guidelines. They're offering them well below the actual cost of their home, the actual value of their home. What we're going to do here, similar to what they did in Philadelphia, is create a do not disturb list. It's similar to the do not call list that we have nationally. Here at a local level, we will require people who are trying to do residential wholesales to register as a business in the city of Baltimore for $500. And from there, they're limited in how they can advertise. We will then create a registry where residents can sign up saying, I do not want to be contacted. Once you're on that list, once they contact you, it's a $250 fine each attempt that they contact you. That's rather by email, phone call, text message, or knocking at your door. The reason why is because too many times have we seen predatory persons offer senior citizens in West Baltimore or any part of Baltimore in a hot real estate market $150,000 when their house is worth 3 times that amount. So today, I believe that this is not only a way to protect our seniors, but protect our neighborhoods, but also for those of us who are tired of seeing "We Buy Houses" sign or the "Pay Cash for Your Home" signs. This allows those businesses to register in the city of Baltimore, so we know who to send the fine to when they destroy our gateways and litter our gateways with their signs. And with that, I yield and ask for your support.
Thank you. I see co-sponsors, Madam Executive Secretary, is Chairman Bullock, Chairman Conway, Councilwoman Odette Ramos, Councilman Antonio Glover, Councilman Z. Cohen, Councilman Ryan Dorsey. Thank you. That bill has been assigned to ECD. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the next bill.
City Council Bill 24-0491, footway repairs, citations, and billing, for the purpose of altering the notice and appeal timelines for certain footway improvements, gradings, pavings, repavings, or repairs, accepting an assessment from bearing interest under certain circumstances, making conforming changes, and generally relating to the citation and billing process for footway repairs. Sponsor Dorsey.
The committee would like to recognize sponsor of the bill, Councilman Ryan Dorsey. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I don't know about you, I've received plenty of complaints about process of citations for sidewalks over the years, and it takes many different forms. I started engaging with the law department, DOT, and the zoning board some months ago to try to address process concerns for notification of sidewalk deficiencies and orders to repair. And then also the billing that gets done on the back end once the city has repaired somebody's sidewalk. Much can be debated, I guess, about whether or not the city should be charging people for their sidewalk repairs, but that's not what this is about. That's a whole other conversation. What I'm focused on here with this bill is just improving and streamlining the process surrounding the billing. We have one particular concern that's the highest priority with this bill is that there's a process that's 100 years old, antiquated, that requires a notification in 2 newspapers in between the time when the city has already gotten through notices and appeals and communications to the point where the work has already been finished, already been done by the city of Baltimore, where before we're allowed to send somebody a bill for the work that we've already done that they knew was going to happen, we have to put notice in 2 newspapers, and the advertising costs are such that it disincentivizes doing this on a one-off basis, and instead we lump huge bunches of sidewalks together, but sometimes it could be a year after the sidewalk was already repaired before the bill ends up going out because of the timeline of the advertising and other waiting periods that ensue from that. And I've had more than one, I don't know, less than 10, but more than one constituent contact me and say, I got a bill for work that was done when the previous owner of my house owned the house. They should have gotten the bill. They got all of the notice before they sold me the house. I had no notice that this was happening. That's how delayed this process can be just by this newspaper requirement, and that's the main thing that this bill is trying to correct. We've got other things throughout city code where newspaper requirements from 100 years ago stifle processes, and there have been other measures taken to eliminate these kind of things. So that's one of the number of tweaks that this makes to just the process so that it's more streamlined and executable. So ask for your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dorsey. I see a hand raised of Chairman John Bullock, Councilwoman Odette Ramos, Councilman Z. Cohen, and Councilman Torrance. This bill has been assigned to Public Safety and Government Operations. Madam Clerk, please call the last bill.
City Council Bill 24-0492, Redistricting Commission Establishment, for the purpose of establishing the composition of the Redistricting Commission, creating the application and nomination process for members of the commission, requiring the commission to select a certain consultant, establishing certain requirements for the consultant, creating leadership and procedural requirements for the commission, defining certain terms generally relating to the Baltimore City Council redistricting process, making this ordinance contingent on the ratification of a certain city charter amendment by a certain date, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor Cohen.
This bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight. Was there a sponsor on the previous bill? Any additional co-sponsors? Rules and Oversight. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the next resolution.
Yep. City Council Resolution 24-0212R, request for state action, pass House Bill 477, Senate Bill 6444, 644, landlord and tenant residential leases and holdover tenancies, local just cause termination provisions, for the purpose of urging the Maryland General Assembly to pass HB 477, SB 644, landlord and tenant residential leases and holdover tenancies, local just cause termination provisions, which would allow local jurisdictions to enact just cause eviction laws and protect residents from arbitrary, discriminatory, or retaliatory displacement from their community. Sponsors Glover and Ramos.
At this time, the body would like to recognize Councilwoman Odette Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. It's my honor to work on this with Councilman Glover. You'll recall that during the pandemic, this body, thanks to the councilman and to you, Council President, passed legislation to have just cause evictions during the pandemic, but was not allowed to continue because we don't have permission from the General Assembly to do this. And so this resolution is to ask the General Assembly to take action and finally pass this bill, giving us permission to pass another law to make sure that there are just cause evictions. And what this means is that when there's a month-to-month lease, that the tenant can't just be kicked out for no reason. There has to be a justification. And so, Mr. President, move to suspend the rules for immediate adoption.
Without objection, rules will be suspended at this time. Do we have to roll call?
Yeah,
No, the
after
next-
she moves
next
the
motion.
I'd like to do roll call, yeah. Madam Councilwoman, the floor is yours.
Move for immediate adoption.
At this time, if we could have roll call for immediate adoption.
President Mosby.
Aye.
Cohen. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Torrance. Bullock. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos.
The ayes have it. The motion is approved. The resolution has been adopted. Just a point to note, that was the first time in the state's history that Just Cause was passed here. It's been a fight down in Annapolis for several years. It was a huge bill that this council really was the leader in the state during a really tough time of the pandemic. So, to each and every one of you, thank you for your support. Councilman Glover carried it for us. Thank you, Councilman Glover and Councilwoman Odette Ramos for helping Delegate Janelle Wilkins out of Montgomery County down in Annapolis this session. With that, we're going to go into consent calendar. You can find a consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the consent calendar is now approved. We'll now turn to bills on third reader. Before we do, I'd like to recognize Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we read short titles for second and third reader for the duration of the meeting.
Without objection, we'll be in short titles for the duration of the meeting. Hearing and seeing none, we're now in short titles. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the bill.
23-0418, tobacco products, tobacco product use in stadiums, prohibition. President Mosby. Cohen. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Torrance. Bullock. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos.
The bill is approved. Councilwoman Ramos, I'm reading some unreadiness on your face. Are we good? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right. So that closes us out for third reading. At this time, we're going to go into committee announcements. Are there any committee announcements? Before we go into committee announcements, 1 second, guys. So I've been told by our trustworthy and amazing parliamentarian that for votes to go out on second reader for same-day reading, we need 12 votes. And we don't have 12, huh?
This is a normal third reading.
Say it again?
There's no second reading. This is a normal third reading.
Yeah, but it was same-day event. I'm sorry, same-day advancement. It has to be 12 votes. We don't have 12 votes.
It's not the same day.
It's not same day. It's only third. Only third is final passage.
1 second, guys. But we're about to lose one additional vote. This would have been. could. Yes. Yeah, immediate adoption, same day.
Okay, so that one, not the third reader, the resolution, not the third reader.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. So it's for immediate adoption, same
Yeah,
day.
if you're going to do any number of readings on the same day, 2 or 3.
Whether it's immediate adoption or
It
not.
requires a
12.
12.
Got it. Yes, sir. Thank you. I think, Madam Councilwoman, Councilman Glover, if you could please return back. Councilwoman?
I was just doing a point of order that this is, this bill that we just voted on is on third reader already.
No, so we are talking about the resolution for.
The resolution?
Yeah,
Okay.
the House bill. So the parliamentarian has communicated that since it's for immediate adoption, you need 12 votes to move something for immediate adoption or same day. 1 second. Councilwoman?
Isn't the quorum based on who is here? So it's not 2/3 of the body, it's 2/3 of who's here.
No, it explicitly says 12 votes. It doesn't give
In the
a.
rules, it says 12 votes.
It
not-
explicitly says 12 votes. It doesn't give a proportion or talk about a quorum. I've been informed that it's a charter requirement.
So it's not a rules issue, it's a charter issue?
Correct.
It's not a parliamentary procedure issue? Because usually it's 2/3 of the body.
No, the charter explicitly says 12 votes. Is there still some unreadiness, Councilman Dorsey?
By understanding that's in the charter. Thank you.
Got it. So we're all good? So we're just going to have to come back next council hearing and hear it again. No. No. Any additional unreadiness? We're all good? Can we do what? All you guys can send a letter. Y'all can go down, these non-binding resolutions. Sure. Yeah, that's how it works. With that, we're going to go into committee announcements. Chairman Bullock?
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I also have both economic and community development for Vice President Middleton.
Okay.
So
Please proceed.
Okay, so for economic and community development, we are announcing the cancellation of the following hearings: 240485, the corrected bill for tenant opportunity to purchase, and 230447, 3110 Elm Avenue landmark list. Both of these bills will be rescheduled for a later date. And now for 240485, tenant opportunity to purchase, that will be held on Tuesday, March 20th, 24 at 2:03 p.m. We'll also be having Bill 220297, which is rezoning of 2101 Washington Boulevard, and that's at 1:59 p.m. on February 20th. And also Economic Community Development will be hearing 230357, Strengthening the Renters Safety Act, on March 5th at 2:01 p.m. If I can go into finance, too.
All right.
Okay. And so now, for finance and performance, let's see. We will be having on Thursday, February 29th at 3 p.m., our quarterly budget briefings. Thursday, March 28th at 3 p.m., we are, again, canceling the hearing that was scheduled for 2/29, and now the new hearing date is March 28th, 24, and that is for Legislative Oversight 230054, agency briefing for the fire department. On Thursday, March 28th at 3:05 p.m., we'll be having Legislative Oversight Agency briefing for the Baltimore City Police Department to follow up to our previous hearing that was held on November 9th. On Thursday, April 11th at 3 p.m., we'll have a Legislative Oversight for the agency briefing for Department of Recreation and Parks. Thursday, April 25th at 3 p.m., again, quarterly budget briefings. And for Thursday, April 25th at 3:05 p.m., Resolution 2102 6062R American Rescue Plan, ARPA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, Chair Conway.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got two announcements. The Public Safety and Government Operations Committee will be hearing Bill 23-0416, Baltimore City Office of Returning Citizens, on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024 at 1:02 p.m. And the committee will also hear Bill 23-0438, the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at 12:59 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, there's no additional committee announcements. I would like to recognize Councilwoman Odette Ramos for regular announcements.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I rise to share some sad news and ask for a moment of silence. Joe Clark, who is the husband of Mary Pat Clark, my predecessor and the former councilwoman, Joe Clark passed away on Saturday, battling an illness, and the funeral mass will be on this coming Saturday, February 17th. Visitations at 10 o'clock, and the mass is at 11 with a reception to follow. And please keep your Councilwoman Clark and her family, which is extensive, in your prayers. Thank you.
Are there any additional?
I'm sorry, the councilman just reminded me I should say where the funeral is. It's at St. Ignatius Church. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional regular announcements? Hearing and seeing none. Chairman Schleifer, if you could close us out.
President, the next regular meeting of the Baltimore City Council will be held Monday, February 26th, 2024 at 5 p.m. At this time, we'll recognize a moment of silence for the 23 victims of homicide this year, and Virgie Jennings and Joe Clark.
Thank you. There being no new business before this desk, this will conclude the 73rd meeting of the 73rd term of your Baltimore City Council. Baltimore, we love you.